561-5530 for domestic. Subject just called the caller, told her there's a male at the location in the house attacking her. State's been stalking her for months.
Ann Arbor woke up to a headline it still can't believe. Sherrone Moore, the 39-year-old coach who once looked like Michigan's steady bridge from the Jim Harbaugh era into the next chapter, was fired with cause, effective immediately. After the university said an investigation found credible evidence, he engaged in an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. In a program that sells tradition like a religion and discipline like a brand, the language was unusually blunt, almost surgical. No long goodbye, no soft landing, just a statement that Michigan maintains zero tolerance, and crucially, a termination that avoids a buyout.
I can imagine 6-7 months ago I went through something very similar, so I know what that storm is like.
Yes, sir.
And unless you've been in it, that's why when people say this is what I would do, you don't know what you would do until you in it. Until you in that pressure cooker, until you in the eye of the storm.
Yes, sir.
Until you in. Ocho, you and I have had a conversation. So
yes, sir.
I know. To be in that storm, and
Crazy.
to know everybody know everything that you worked your entire life for. You feel it like it's crumbling right before your eyes.
Gone.
Yeah. And the only people that's gonna be there, it's gonna be a select few. It's gonna be a select few. That's the hardest part. I mean, everybody. Look, it's kind of it. Look, and I understand the situation, but if you're married and you engage in an inappropriate relationship, why would you do that? You married. And see, everybody always say, well, "Why would you do that? Why would you do that?" Well, if you thought you was gonna get caught, if you thought something was gonna go wrong, you wouldn't do it.
And then the story got darker, faster. Within hours of the firing on Wednesday, December 10th, Moore was taken into custody amid an alleged assault investigation in nearby Pittsfield Township, later being held in the Washtenaw County Jail while prosecutors reviewed potential charges. Police emphasized the incident did not appear random, and multiple outlets reported he remained in custody into Thursday as the legal process churned forward. The timing turned an already catastrophic employment scandal into a full-blown crisis with flashing lights, jail records, and a fan base watching in real time as the face of the program vanished behind procedure.
I think from the Sherrone Moore point of view, you have to look at his failures as well. He failed, if these things are true, he failed his family. He failed the young men he was in charge of leading and coaching. And he also failed a community of coaches who would love to follow him to get an opportunity to coach at a historically great university like a Michigan, to be amongst the names of the Yost and the Schembechlers and the Lloyd Carrs. That was the opportunity that he had that he failed at. And we also have to think about this young lady who was a subordinate and what these accusations or what these actions will do to her for the rest of her life. And so now if you're Sherrone Moore, who was the first African-American head coach at the University of Michigan, there's also a community of coaches that would love to follow in your footsteps that will be partly judged because of your actions. He does have to own that.
The most unsettling detail, though, wasn't even the paperwork. It was the way people inside the building reportedly felt the temperature changing before the explosion. ESPN's reporting, echoed by college football insider Pete Thamel on SportsCenter, described a staff gripped by uneasiness, with sources claiming Moore had been acting strange, berating assistant coaches, and not behaving like himself as the situation percolated over recent weeks. The kind of description that lands like a chill because it suggests the end didn't arrive out of nowhere. It arrived after a stretch of tension where colleagues were asking the same question privately. What is going on with him?
He does have to, at some point, acknowledge that. He has to be held accountable for that, whether these things are true and someone was after him or not. And so if you're Michigan, you're truly coming from two head coaches in a row in Jim Harbaugh and also Sherrone Moore that has let the university down in some way. It is not the level of excellence that we expect from that position that has a responsibility. You know, in Romans 3:23, right, it says, all have fallen short because of sin and fallen short of the glory of God. So Sherrone Moore will have an opportunity to be given grace by his family, by Christ, but he won't get a Bobby Petrino rebound, right? He will be treated like Mel Tucker. He will be treated like Michael Haywood, who in 2010 was supposed to be the next head coach of the University of Pittsburgh. So I just don't think we could skip over how serious.
According to those accounts, there was an earlier investigative phase that seemed to quiet down toward the end of the regular season. Michigan's last game coming November 29, only for the pressure to surge again in the past week. That boil is what makes Michigan's move feel so rare. Major programs don't usually fire head coaches in December with language this explicit, unless they believe the underlying evidence is strong enough to survive the immediate storm that follows. Hamill's point wasn't subtle. Statements like Michigan's don't happen by accident. They happen when lawyers, administrators, and decision-makers decide they'd rather endure the blast now than risk a slow leak that poisons the entire institution later.
This situation is for Sherrone Moore and the decision-making, the situation he put himself in. And so going forward, you can't just bring in a coach that's great at X's and O's. You need to bring in a leader of men. You need to bring in a man that these young men can look at and model certain aspects of their life afterwards. And I don't know who that is. Is it a Jed Fish from the University of Washington who turned Arizona around? I know I heard the name Brian Kelly being floated. He absolutely should not be the next head coach of Michigan. From everything you see of Kellen DeBoer, even if he's not winning the amount of games you want him to win at Alabama, he carries himself in a way where that is someone I would want my son to play for. And I think when you're looking at finding this next head coach, it's not as simple as how many games can we win. It's who can change the perception of the sort of person we are picking to lead young men into the next chapters of their lives.
If Michigan wanted to be crystal clear about one thing, it was this. The decision wasn't framed as a football decision. It wasn't a mutual parting, a different direction, or a euphemism about culture. The athletic department said the termination came after a university investigation and cited credible evidence of a policy violation. That phrasing matters because it's the legal hinge that turns the whole door, the line that separates paying millions in guaranteed money from arguing you owe nothing at all. In a sport where contracts are armor and buyouts are ransom, with cause is the cleanest cut you can make.
With a staffer, what we haven't heard yet is Sherrone Moore's side of this. And he gets his say into this particular situation as well. And I do know that he felt like people had it in for him for an awful long time there while he was at Michigan. He felt like there were people who were out to get him. So all of these things can all be true. It's possible that, yes, Michigan does have evidence that he had an inappropriate relationship with a staffer. And it could be that Sherrone Moore is right, that people had it in for him. But the whole situation itself is just sad and tragic because now we have a individual who had his professional life, his personal life completely upended. We have a school with a bunch of players who don't have a coach to turn to right now. We have a school in search of a program, a new coach to lead forth that program. There are a whole host of things that have transpired here that have led this to be a completely surreal, wild situation that if you heard about it, you wouldn't believe it because it almost seems made up.
Still, the human wreckage around that cut is what's now spilling across campus. Interim Michigan President Domenico Grasso described the situation as a painful breach of trust, telling students and faculty that the university has absolutely no tolerance for the alleged conduct and that the investigation would continue. He encouraged anyone with information to contact the compliance hotline, a move that reads like an institution widening the funnel for facts and bracing for what might still be out there. When a university president is urging confidential tips in a mass message, it signals this isn't being treated as a closed book. It's being treated as an open case.
Let me say this to Ryan Clark. You say a lot of dumb shit on TV. You and a couple other people, when you get on, I just turn that motherfucker off. But this is by far one of the dumbest things that you've ever said. When you said that Coach Moore has set back African-American coaches and he's a disservice to African American coaches. That's a bunch of bullshit. I'm a coach and I deal with college coaches on a daily basis. It's not a day that go by I don't deal with black college coaches. White ones too. It's not a setback. And here's what's worse about it. ESPN should be suspending your ass for saying some dumb shit like this, because if you would have said the same thing that when Petrino did it, oh, white coaches have been set back hundreds of years because of Petrino. See, what you don't understand is you're feeding into the bullshit. You have just set black coaches back because you are giving these people what they want to not hire black coaches. You are flaming the fires. So when the brother goes in and get ready to become the offensive coordinator, defense coordinator, or head coach, they remember what you just said, and they use that against these black coaches, bruh. You smarter than that. Unless you just working for them. You're setting black coaches back because you're giving them this bullshit ammunition. I can name 8 white coaches that did the same shit, and you did not get on TV and said the same thing about them and their race. Bruh. You fucking black people up. And ESPN full of shit too for allowing you to sit on there and say that. Let me just say this. ESPN, the black community, we're upset that you're allowing this asshole to stand up here on this stage and talk about our community and our community coaches, because he is doing us a disservice. Ryan Clark.
While the university and police stayed guarded on specifics, the public consequences arrived immediately. Michigan named Biff Poggi as interim head coach, throwing him into the chaos with a bowl game looming, the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl against Texas on December 31. A moment that should have been about practices, depth charts, and postseason pride, not emergency meetings and crisis communications. The calendar is merciless. College football doesn't pause because your program is unraveling. It just keeps marching toward kickoff. That relentless pace is why the Moore story feels like a collision at highway speed. Moore wasn't some distant hire who never fit. He was part of Michigan's inner continuity, joining the Wolverines in 2018, rising through the staff, and stepping into national view when he served as acting head coach during Harbaugh's suspension stretch, winning those games and strengthening the perception that Michigan had its succession plan in-house. Then he became the full-time head coach after Harbaugh left for the NFL, finishing his 2-season run with a winning record, reported as 17-8 over 2 seasons in multiple recaps. In other words, this wasn't a long-term rebuilder being dismissed. This was the guy Michigan presented as the next logical leader. And because he was the plan, the optics now slice deeper. Fans can rationalize a bad season. They can argue over play calling and recruiting. What's harder to process is the feeling that something was rotting inside the operation while the team kept running onto the field on Saturdays, helmets shining, band playing, everyone pretending the machine was healthy. The reports of donors cooling and internal uneasiness suggest a program that may have been living with whispers before the rest of the country caught up to reality. Even if the public never gets every detail, the mere existence of that internal chill changes how people read the last few weeks of Michigan football. The sideline shots, the press conferences, the posture behind the podium. Then there's the question no school ever wants to answer in public. Who knew what and when? On Thursday, reporting also swirled about Michigan's administrative handling, including claims that the athletic director, Ward Manuel, was not fired despite online rumors, and that board members and officials were meeting to discuss the situation as it continued to unfold. Regardless of where those internal conversations land, the pressure point is obvious. Michigan has been forced into a posture of institutional accountability, and once that posture is adopted, every previous scandal in the orbit gets relit like an old headline dragged back into daylight. spotlight. By Thursday evening, the story still didn't have the clean ending people craved. Moore remained in custody in reporting from major outlets, and officials indicated paperwork had not yet reached the court in a way that would put an arraignment on the schedule immediately. That kind of limbo is its own punishment, a public figure suspended between allegation and adjudication, with speculation filling the empty space that facts haven't yet occupied. For Michigan, it means an institution trying to project certainty, zero tolerance, with cause, effective immediately, while the broader saga is in reality still moving. The most uncomfortable part is that two different tracks are now running simultaneously, and each one raises the stakes for the other. The university track is about policy and conduct, about whether an inappropriate relationship violated standards severe enough to justify termination. The legal track is about alleged criminal behavior and whether charges will be filed. Either track alone would be a crisis. Together, they form the kind of headline spiral that swallows everyone nearby: staffers, players, recruits, donors, and administrators who now have to answer questions they never planned to face in December. And yet the team still has to practice. Players still have to decide whether to stay or transfer, whether to trust interim leadership, whether to believe that the program they signed up for is still the program they're living in. Recruits still have to watch from afar and interpret every move. Rival fan bases will talk, media will speculate, and Michigan will attempt the hardest trick in college sports: keeping football operational while the building is on fire. This is the cost of college football's billion-dollar reality. When the head coach falls, it's never just one person falling. It's a brand wobbling, a locker room destabilizing, a university forced to speak in the sharpest language it has, and a fan base left staring at the wreckage, asking how something that looked so stable could collapse so suddenly. And until the investigations, institutional and legal, move from ongoing to resolve, the Moore saga will hang over Michigan like a winter storm, unavoidable, visible from everywhere, and impossible to ignore.